We're just going to keep on rolling for you guys. Yeah. Wow. Up next, we have Real Treat. Laurie from the Enchanted Goddess Creative Arts Collective, Zakia Graham. Woohoo! When she isn't stuffing her face with chocolate cake and other desserts, Zakia Graham is dreaming of delicious treats. Sometimes she even takes photos of them. Her work can be seen on Instagram at Hangryland. Zakia's wish is to raise the disappointing level of organ donor enrollment in New York State. Please go to www.liveonny.org today for more information and to sign up to become an organ donor. Without any further ado, I'm going to bring this amazing artist performer, photographer, Zakia Graham.
Thanks, Joan. So, I'm going to try. Awesome. Yeah, and I was just wondering, would you even tell me like something crazy, like if I smell like a subway, like a person? Would you tell me if oh God, I hope you tell me if I start reeking death. Do I reek death? Oh my God, I hope I smell like Chanel. Are you there? Oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. I wasn't really saying anything, like important, just thoughts, I don't know, just whatever comes to my head, thoughts. But I was also just wondering, I was really trying to say that I really just kind of need you. Because to be honest, I feel like I'm just kind of falling into this deep hole and I don't know how to get out. I really just want you to, I don't know, maybe not ignore me because my pain and my fear are not Instagrammable. You can't slap a filter on anything you do about it, but yeah, I know, it's okay. Yeah, I know that you wanted to try to visit. I know that you're thinking of a baby kind of calling just to, like see how I'm feeling, make sure that I'm still alive. It's okay, I know. Like, things keep coming up. And, I know what it was. So you don't have to explain. I know it was that video of this sneezing baby panda on YouTube, right? I knew it. Because, I saw that one too. It was super cute. But, yeah, so, don't worry about it. It's okay. I know that life gets busy. Things happen. You know what? I do feel sorry for myself and not for you. I think it's okay. I think it feels kind of good, actually. Like, just these like, I don't know, I think it's happening to me. Just these like hunched shoulders and like this empty brain. Just always apologizing, never really saying anything else, just like apologizing for, I don't know, existing. I don't really know what's happening. I just feel like I'm just a pair of these like shoulders and this empty brain, just one more angry face on the train, just wondering, what happened? How did I get here? This is not the life that I wanted. And don't tell me to be grateful, because you know what? I don't have to be. Because when do we get to the part where I'm in charge of my own life? At the same time, I also kind of know, I am still alive. I'm probably not supposed to be, but I guess that kind of makes me just feel really, I don't know, just humbled, blessed, pissed, really, really pissed. You know, I'm still me. I just really want you to know that I'm still me. I still like, you know, Netflix and chocolate and a bunch of other stuff. You better know what those other things are. Everything else. You know, like, but you know, I'm also scared. I'm also alone. But I am still alive, I think. You know, could you just please pay attention to me just for once? No, please. Just pay attention. And don't even tell me that someday we'll talk about this. Because you know what? Right now is the time when I need you. I want for you to give me the part of you that scares you the most. I want for you to be vulnerable with me. Just give me your heart. Give me your breath. Give me all the ugly parts you didn't know you wanted until you knew that somebody else wanted them to. Needed them to. Just tell me. Just tell me that the only thing you want Lauren to live is for me to really, really live to. Just share yourself with me. Just cherish me. Give me life. I'm not dirt yet. So just, you know, be here. Just hold on to me. Hold my hand while it's actually still warm. That's it.
The fabulous May Madigan. She's a violinist. She's a member of Gabriella, New York, a Filipino organization, a member of the band Mother Tongue. Welcome, Lucy.
Hello everyone, good evening.
Hello.
So we are part of a band called Mother Tongue, and Mother Tongue is a band made up of people, many different backgrounds. I am Peruvian Cuban, and Nancy Filipina. And then we have our band leader, Raf, who is from Puerto Rico, and we're all, and Cole, who's also from the Philippines, and we all come together as POC. We all bring our own desires to create our own revolutions together. We're going to have a Mother Tongue original called I Vow, written by our bandmate Cole Carruthers. And
so neither of us actually rap, but at the same token, we recognize that, you know, even without our other bandmates here, that we do have a platform and that we want to share what's the words, and so we're going to try our best.
we're going to try our best. they call it the way it was done. If they don't, they deserve it. What is justice when rape kids go around process? What is justice when women's bodies are be processed? What is justice when a woman has to leave the country? What is justice if a woman is really violent?
This collaboration is two goddesses from the Enchanted Goddess Creative Arts Collective here. I have Jennifer Harmon and Lucy Torres. Lucy Torres is a writer, an artist based in New York City and author of The Taste of Broken. Lucy is a LaGuardia Performing Arts Center Lab 101 grantee. Lucy is an unwavering women's rights activist. An advocate for gender, racial, ability, class, age, body, size, equality. You can find her at lucytorres.co and on Facebook. Jennifer Harmon Gersbeck. Jennifer Harmon Gersbeck grew up amongst the rose-colored deserts of New Mexico.
Oh,
yeah. But currently hops through puddles in her paisley galoshes down the sidewalks of Astoria. Inspired by her late mother, Patty, she released her first book in 2016 entitled Celebrating Sound. Let me present this artist collaboration performance with Jennifer Harmon Gersbeck and Lucy Torres.
I've had this leotard in my dresser drawers for the past couple of years, and these pink ballerina slippers. Yeah. You know, I was in ballet from kindergarten through 6th grade. As I put them on for the first time in so many years, I get to tell you about my freedom and my truth. It's so exciting to practice and get ready for the stage with you, my friend Lucy. Yes, I can't wait to go out there.
I know, I'm excited too.
All right, let's practice. It's deep down inside of me from long ago. Not channeled at him, my dad, little Jenny, me, or God. Yes, of course it is. It's channeled at all of us. Rage blooms within me. Gotta see myself as well. Okay, yes. Rage blooms within me. I buried the anger in the desert. I did. I buried the anger in the desert and covered it with bright magenta flowered cactus, cutting my finger on the edge of the needles, labeled myself average, chubby, unorganized. I am mesmerizing.
You know, it's interesting, Jen, that you say that, because when I was 3, I wanted to be a ballerina. And when I went to the school with my mom, they told me I was too fat to be a ballerina. And I didn't understand what it was to be fat at the time. Of course, I know very well now, but I understood that there was a limitation because something was wrong with my body. That was what was conveyed to me. And I think that's the first memory I have of not being accepted. And I had a crush on a boy, and I had just learned English. And he told me I was too fat and ugly, and my friend was skinny and pretty and tall. And I knew what fat was by then, because I had learned the word in those 2 years. So it's funny that you can have that. And so I decided for this show I was going to dress like a fucking dancer anyway. High five. So in preparation searching for this, I realized that there's a lot of anger there, but there's so much hurt as a child. And so trying to memorize these lines is impossible. So prepping this way makes it easier, right? Because we're facing our demons, and it's really fucking hard. So I'm not conventionally fetching, right? I'm myself. What does that mean? I don't even know. I think I'm pretty rooted in myself, but this body of mine, right? I mean, it's been through the grinder of pain for about 10 years, and it's not conventionally approved. Even when I was thinner, I was miserable because I was so sick from endometriosis, and there's been weight loss, weight gain, an excess of curves, an abundance of shape.
It is so powerful to do this for you. You know, growing up, I was angry about his infidelity, her blindness, my mom's blindness, what I couldn't control. Rage blooms within me. My eyes are a camouflage, golden green swirl, metallic. My eyes are a bathtub to wash in, swimming in acrylic war paint that I roll over and over, and I'm covered in tattoos that only I can see. I soak in faith to relax my sore muscles. There are no secrets. Take all of me.
You know, you say that, and I realize that we're not conventional in thought. I'm not conventional in thought. I mean, society has told me uncounted times, time and time again, that I'm different, that I'm too much and yet not enough somehow, simultaneously, that I'm an assault to the senses, but also not enough. So I've suffered from endometriosis for 10 years, and I had a pregnancy and a miscarriage. And I've had painful surgeries that have changed my body. And there are scars that run deeper than skin and bones. And I just feel weary, and I feel tired, and I'm exhausted. And I feel like life has just served all of us in some capacity this uncooked dish of agony that can just overwhelm and break us to a point where we feel like we can't return.
That's why we're on the same page here. Because I get to get as close as I need to, or want to all the time, and hold your hand and say, triumph is built on going there. We get to go there together. Rage blooms within me, and I am proud to make this grand announcement here. I knew he lied. I let him lie, and I covered up his lies by not saying a thing. Yeah. At 30, I forgave him. In fact, I never stopped encouraging him to free himself. My dad walked me down the aisle. I'm 40 now, merging 12-year-old Jenny with my current self. We hold hands on the walk to the subway, and we explored the rage that blooms within us together. Why is it harder to let go of my life sentence? I vote to let myself off death row. You are free, Jennifer, innocent of the lawsuit you brought against yourself.
Yes. You're free. And I feel like I'm still stitching little by little. I feel like I'm picking up these jagged shards, right? Because the brokenness is everywhere. And I do it with wonder now, right? Because I embrace the brokenness. And I do it with resiliency and resolve, perseverance and curiosity, because I'm learning and I will not stop learning.
Yes.
And these fragmented echoes of who I was and who I am and who I will be, they reflect the sinew of myself. I'm repairing and renewing, and I'm a tailor. And I'm adapting and adjusting. I'm stitching and weaving a new sense of self every single day. And I want that for you too.
To be here together and to be honest and to look in the mirror and to say it all and to see it all, because every day is different. So some days we feel more whole than others. So I say also, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you for taking away my innocence, for putting me in the position to carry your secrets alive, for choosing not to tell her about your deception, for damaging my views of my body and my own sexuality. I was fast back then. I'd go to the Royal Arena every week. I would race, and I was a winner, man. I was fast, sideways, slanted, faster, moving. Sometimes I fell, sometimes I didn't fall, and I won. And then I remember in PE, I was like so fast. I was a sprinter, and then I fell, and I cut my leg, and they put the alcohol into it. And then I decided, fuck, I'm not going to stop running. I'm going to stop running. You know, anticipation was my favorite accessory. Anxiety was my favorite necklace, like my mom's beautiful turquoise. And after my parents' divorce, when I turned 22, it was hard. That was another death. It was hard for me to think of our family traditions lovingly. And I couldn't see him. I couldn't see my dad for a few years because all of the truth came out. And we got to talk about it. And he understood, and he was so sorry for my pain and despair. And I say thank you, Dad, for letting me be real and true, for not holding my frustration and anger against me. Thank you for never being away from me. We would share letters and emails and calls, and during that time, and he always encouraged me to tell the truth in my art.
Yes.
So I say the biggest truth is us being free, is us to know, letting go of judgment of ourselves, and we get to know it doesn't end.
Absolutely.
So I have to tell you, I celebrate my body, and I say, I move daily to circle hips, celebrate this body, this temple. Or cracked and dispose of it now. Use it when it's necessary. I carry the grief of the physical loss of my parents, but I continue these dialogues with them. I carry the grief in my cute Betsy Johnson purse with the yellow bow, and I tie my mom's polka dot scarf around my neck, and I dab our lipsticks, my assorted colors on my lips and cheeks. And guess what? I put the lid back on the lipstick. I remove my makeup at night. I brush my teeth. I make the bed, I go shopping, cook when you can. I take out the trash, I clean the litter box, I decorate the top with different surfaces. I behold the sparkle in my life, the sparkling earrings in my hand from Joan Rivers and my mom. And it takes time to care for yourself, you know?
Yes.
So I say, honor the past poems, honor our truth, and then I put a pen next to my notebook in my bag, next to the pain and the grief, and it's not that heavy anymore.
Yeah.
And I say, you ready for this?
Lay it on me.
I will love more easily, forgive more readily, listen quietly, and quietly hear my thoughts. On impulse I will do and not wait to wish I'd done it. All things will not have thought before action. Unplanned, unworried, uncounted, unpacked, I will go. I will still cry and laugh and embrace and hide. I will. But without so looking back to judge myself. My power will come from me.
Yes!
Because sometimes it does feel like the world is only me and my reactions. And thank you, Mom, for teaching me to put myself out there. But still, we know.
You do know. Rage blooms within us.
It's true.
I have a lot of rage. Rage blooms within me.
Yes.
It blooms within you. It blooms within me, right? I don't know how to be angry. So we're not taught how to be angry in our society, and culturally, we're allowed to be quiet. We're allowed to be hysterical. We're allowed to be all these negative things, but rage we don't know how to deal with. And so,
Yes.
and there's been years of heartbreak and illness and an ever-changing body, this emotional labor that goes into being other, okay? It's this otherness that makes it so wearisome. I'm tired. I'm an insult to others because I'm round, but I'm also not round enough in certain circles. I'm tired. So this is what I'm saying. I want you guys to hear me.
Yes.
Herein lies the essence of me, what I know is to be true, through the harshness of a cruel reality, that I'm strong enough to endure, unwavering in the face of pain, disillusion, heartbreak, regardless of fear, the harshness of the heartbreak and health failures. I'm still here. Okay, these challenges didn't strip me so much as they've given me the gift of discovery, the discovery of my resiliency, my tenacity. What could only be revealed through the obstacles that left the taste of broken in my mouth.
Look at us, we're ballet dancers.
Yeah, we put this out to the world.
Jennifer Dawn, Focus and Balance. I remember the yearly recitals and the costumes, and the practice on weekdays, and when I got to toe shoes, it was so painful standing up. And I remember I decided the discomfort of discipline was really challenging, so I decided to discontinue. And then pretty much the same thing in marching band with the clarinet. Goodbye preparation, hello lies about memorization, just saying I was going to do it and not doing it. And now I show up and I do it. And I was kidnapped at 12. I mean, really, that's what it felt like. I was held in a room, her freedom to make choices taken away. Still, a part of her escaped, flew, traveled, and shined. She grew, knowing the 12-year-old was still trapped inside. She drove her Geostorm, listening to I'm Just a Girl in the World with Weird Boys in the Desert, while the teenager let the girl stay locked indoors. She didn't seek out adults or run to get help.
She didn't.
She didn't. She kept going.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like I also locked a part of myself, but we always do that, right? And I feel like I'm always in situations where I feel like I have to explain myself. Explain to people who are passive aggressive about things that have to do with my body that nobody really should be asking me about.
Yes.
And there are these inappropriate questions that are made simply because of my existence. These seemingly offhand condescending comments, right? Or BMI, you worried about your BMI? Really? That's what you're gonna ask me? Of course I'm worried about all these things, but I have these two conditions that make me gain weight, and I have to come to terms with that. Being healthy does not make you less than or worthy. It doesn't make you more than or unworthy. The glorification of healthy living has been so indoctrinated into our society, but society has taught me that hating myself is the way to be, right? That I should hate myself. Because thinness equals worthiness, it equals health, it equals beauty, it equals success, and it equals love.
And I think both of us now, me and little Jenny, and we see gratitude everywhere. And togetherness.
And we are together.
Yes.
And this safe space, when we practice and we go through and we collaborate, made me realize that it's important to talk about something that I hadn't talked about openly. This is my first time talking about it. But it's important to talk about loss. And we as women continuously lose so much. There are no words to describe the loss that we feel. I suffered a miscarriage about 3 years ago, and I wasn't ready. What do you do when these different worlds start colliding and you really don't know how to navigate, but you're excited because you have this condition that has made you believe that you were going to be barren? And so, unbeknownst to me, I was pregnant at 33, and I was castigated by my ex-gynecologist now for having gotten pregnant because I was overweight. And that was hard, right? Because all around me, everybody's telling me that it's wrong clinically, but I was excited. I wasn't prepared for it, and I knew it was premature of us to do it, but I was deeply in love. And it's hard to talk about. But I think it's important because the day that I saw the word embarazada, which is in Chile, and I was there and I said, wow, this is Lucy Torres is pregnant. All right, like, not because I talk in third person, but because this is like the new chapter in my book. Lucy Torres is having a child. What am I gonna do about this? And so I was very excited and I was very moved by it. And I cried and I was very, very sick. But when I went to my first sonogram, I was really excited. We were both really excited, and we held hands, and the doctor told me that there was no child there anymore. It was a sac, but I had miscarried along the way. And that was hard. That was really hard. I wasn't prepared for that. But it's taught me a lesson. Right, because the doctor told me that I would have to, I could just naturally miscarry the rest of my child, or they would have to perform some kind of surgery. And so a couple days later, I was in labor and I was delusional, and because I'm a tough chick, I thought, I can get through this. This is, you know, I'm in labor, but, you know, you're delusional, right? Because you're like, this isn't happening to me. How could this happen to me? I didn't even know I was going to be in this situation. And so I thought I could get through it. And my boss, who was a former nurse, told me, you're in a delusional state. You're in labor. Like, this is not okay. And this goes to show that the states that we're in, it's not that we can't trust ourselves. It's just that we go through so much pain and trauma that we keep going. Even if it's not the best way, even if it's not the most logical, even if it's hormonal, even if it's delusional, even if it's hysterical, we process to move forward. And so I went there and I had this procedure that made me feel like my sanity left me with the remnants of this child that I so deeply loved. And unfortunately, everything after that kind of spiraled out of control, and I had no sense of self, and I didn't understand who I was. My body changed. I had this round belly, but it was a home for this child that was no longer there. And I have a condition that's supposed to make me barren, and so since then I look like I'm pregnant all the time, and so it's a constant reminder of this child that I housed. I was a home for a child that no longer exists. And that's okay. It's okay because we all go through that type of pain. Maybe not as a miscarriage. We lose our parents. We lose our children when they're older. We lose our grandparents. We have a sense of loss and grief. And there's no comfort in that. There's no comfort in anything that anybody could ever say.
We have to say surrender. It's time to love ourselves and our bodies rather than fight or struggle.
I agree.
And embrace our fierceness and independence. So I kind of think we are sitting here in the discomfort.
We are. This is very uncomfortable.
But we embrace what we'll always have inside of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like, despite all of that, I'm still angry, right? But it's a good anger because I realize now the shape that I have is a result of all these circumstances.
Yeah.
But we're allowed to take up space. We are all allowed to take up space. You are allowed to take up space. I wore this tutu because I'm allowed.
We get to keep finding more about ourselves that we love. Each one of us here. There's so many layers.
There are. Yes.
And
yes, there's so many layers to us. Just a simple conversation of this conversation that we're having leading up to this women's empowerment show. Because this is real. We went off script like first page. So we're just turning because it looks fantastic. All get up.
Our next performer, Diana Benigno. Diana Benigno is a theater artist graduating this spring from Hunter College with her master's in theater. Her performances range from acting, singing, calligraphy, dancing, and drama. She's performed in the Federico Lorca Blood Wedding, Shakespeare's Much to Do About Nothing, The Tempest, Richard III, Chandler's Doubt, the new Trinity Comics, a web series, and many others in New York City and on Long Island. She plays with puppets, loves anything involving words and their intonations, loves to experiment with art's profound ability to heal and teach. She has an Etsy shop at the Book Tree Fair, and catch her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that.
I would like to thank all the female artists here tonight for opening for me. There's a hero. Just kidding, but did you see that? on the female voices that have brought us all to this moment. I want to take you all back 4,000 years to southern Iraq. Have you guys ever heard of the artist Edwana? She's the first named author in the history of writing. Anything.
Wow.
The first cuneiform tablets that they translated and thousands of years go by. And they find out that it was a woman who wrote all these cuneiform tablets.
Yeah, baby.
About invoking the goddess Inanna. So she was a pretty well-to-do lady, Edwana. She was a princess. She was the son of a king, and she decided to dedicate her life to serving the goddess because that is how a woman could be powerful and who could preach and write. I really just want to get to her poetry. And she was also the first one who signed her own work. She wrote in all of her poems, she wrote, "I am Edwana. I am the one who's speaking. I am the one who is invoking." And she even refers to herself as the lady of the largest heart. So in her exaltation of Inanna, she gives everything to this goddess. It's an invocation of a goddess, but the more that I read her poetry, it's a prayer, it's a cry, and it's her on her knees basically saying, "Queen of all given powers, unveiled clear light, unfailing woman wearing brilliance, cherished in heaven and earth, chosen, sanctified in heaven you, grand in your adornments, crowned with your beloved goodness, rightfully you, Edwana. Your hand seize the 7 fixed powers, my queen of fundamental forces, guardian of essential cosmic sources. You lift up the elements, bind them to your hands, gather in powers and press them to your breast. The vicious dragon you spew. Venom poisons the land like the storm god you howl. Grain wilts on the ground. Swollen flood rushing down the mountain you are Inanna, supreme in heaven and earth. And the name Inanna means the divine in all matter. And she believed in both the harsh and the beautiful. And Inanna actually became Yahweh later on. The poetry sort of attributed to her sort of got retranslated and translated again. And then we move on a little forward in time to Sappho. She was a love poet. She wrote love poetry. So, and it always had to do with relationships between women and this longing for a partner, for a female partner, for a friend, really. And she had, where we just had our ode to Inanna, which sort of married the beautiful with war, to the ode to Aphrodite. So the goddesses change. She always changes. Again, if you could see, listen to the words and listen to how they evolve from Aphrodite. Subtle of soul and deathless, daughter of God, weaver of wiles, I pray thee. Neither with care, dread mistress, nor with anguish. Slay thou my spirit. And it's a conversation between her and Aphrodite. And Aphrodite answers her and she goes, "What my frenzied heart craved in utter yearning, whom its wild desire would persuade to passion? What disdainful charms madly worshipped slight thee? Who wrongs thee, Sappho? She that fain would fly. She shall quickly follow. She that now rejects, yet with all the gifts shall woo thee. She that heeds thee not, soon shall love to madness, love thee, and loathe thee." And then for about a few thousand years, we don't really hear anything from women at all. until, historically speaking, until the Middle Ages, we have our first female playwright. So like I said, this presentation is about these first voices. Here we have the voices of now. And the first female playwright, I don't know if you guys know this, was a nun named Roswitha von Gandersheim. Have you guys heard of her? She's so awesome. You look it up and it always say nobody knows if the plays were performed, but they clearly were. Like Reverend Mother clearly told her to write all these things because all of her heroes are virgins. They're all nuns, and they're all about. All of these plays are about. I feel like I shouldn't laugh at this, but in the Middle Ages it's kind of funny. They're all women running away from rape. That's all it is. That's all it is. They're all up on a mountain. All these men try to rape them. But they're protected by the light of God. by the light of themselves, by the light of their unwavering faith, which I think is actually really, really beautiful. So we go from this invocation to the goddess to now this silent faith, this silent prayer that's very quiet during the Middle Ages. And then I was going to read more stuff about the first novel that was ever written ever. It was also written by a woman. It was written by a Japanese woman whose name I'm not going to waste time pronouncing. I don't think. We'll call her MS. If you win my little raffle, there's a poem by her in there that I wrote in calligraphy for you. And then we have Afro Baron in the 17th century. Was the first woman to write mystery novels. First woman to write crime novels, and she was published everywhere. She wrote a lot of plays, had everything performed. This in the 1600s in Europe. And then we got to jump 200 years in the future to this 20th century notion of identity. And we've seen it even here today. There's this cry of who am I and what am I doing and what is my art? And I have the same thing, which is why I can't get up here right now and even attempt to give you original poetry. So we have, and who do we think of when we think of 20th century identity as far as a poet, as far as a writer goes? We think of, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We think of Maya Angelou. I don't have that, I have her others that I would like to read to you because you all know that and you all could listen to that on your way home. And she has two short poems. One of them, to celebrate Queens today, is called Awaking in New York. Curtains forcing their will against the wind, children sleep, exchanging dreams with seraphim. The city drags itself awake on subway straps, and I, an alarm, awake as a rumor of war, lie stretching into dawn, unasked and unheeded. But I would like to close with something that she wrote, which is, and these words too, I'm going to read this on the slower side, but there's one thing that Maya did know, and that she did connect with, and it was this feeling of legacy, of identity, which she constantly explored and taught upstate as a professor, what she wrote down as a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer. She wrote, when great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wisen. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the utterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration, our senses restored, never to be the same, whispered to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.
We're the final collaboration. Woohoo! First, we're going to bring up Caitlin Caston.
Yes!
Caitlin Caston, originally from Philadelphia, graduated summa cum laude from the University of South Florida with a bachelor's in fine arts in dance and a minor in psychology. Caston's desire, internationally diverse artistic endeavors have taken her across the globe. Caitlin is based in New York City and dances with Aerial Rivka Dance Dance and Trolley, and Matthew Westerby's company. You can catch her on a website, CaitlinCaston.com. So let's bring her up for her dance.
Joan Beck Willett, aka the Enchanted Goddess, is a writer, educator, curator, host, and the creatrix of the Enchanted Goddess Project, a literary creative art series, which hosts creative workshops, performances, and hosts a monthly interdisciplinary artist workshop series, the Enchanted Goddess Creative Arts Collective. Some of her work has been published in the Newtown Literary Journal, Siren Magazine, Silver Birch Press, and These Winter Months Anthology. She was also featured in the NYC Poetry Festival, Queens Lit Fest, Canvas of Words, Inspired Words, Risk of Discovery, Nature of the Muse, and Boundless Tale. Joan has been featured on New York One, and QPTV's telecast, The World of Arts and the Artist Space, produced by Maria Cora Fernandez of Empire Productions, and Power Women of Queens, produced by Lucia Dragos.
Yes.
Joan has also curated, hosts several Celebrating Queens women artist performances at QCA. She has been featured in local newspapers, the Queens Gazette, LIC Journal, Queens Tribune, and the Queens Chronicle, and in the Huffington Post. Joan recently read her published work, Paradise Found in Socrates Park, at Socrates Sculpture Park, for Five Boroughs Story Project, LIC Astoria Love Letters, last summer. She was awarded a Queens Art Intervention Grant by RPGA Studios and was commissioned for the Hestia Project, a public arts project at Socrates Park. The Hestia Project was featured earlier this year at Queens Museum, along with 12 other QAI grant awardees. Joan is currently writing her first book.
Hell yeah. Yes. Hell yeah, you
Enchanted Goddess of Queens. She has also just been awarded an artist residency with SU CASA Grant Award 2018 from Queens Council.
Yes!
Her website is joanbackwillette.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Joan Backwillette.
I'm going to read a piece that I wrote a few years ago. It's like kind of an historical piece of my life through the decades. It's called Born Just in Time. I grew up in the middle of two turbulent decades. The formative years embedded with the 1950s homespun values of what a woman's place should be, and the turbulent 1960s where the proverbial shit hit the historical fame. The world turned upside down by revolutionaries such as Dr. Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, just to name a few. No one sat in their assigned seats or roles anymore. The civil rights movement and the women's rights movement marched together courageously into the 1970s, turning the world on its head and my life upside down. My mother told me a woman's place was in the home. Virtues extolled were domestic engineering, social demureness, and modesty at all costs. Men needed to be taken care of because they were the breadwinners. I was to keep my legs closed, smile and agree with my dates, and hunt down a good provider. That's what I sent you to college for, my mother said, when I showed her that I was on the dean's list in college. I knew the secret. As a young girl, I already knew that I was being fed a line of bullshit, long before the Feminist Manifesto was out. I raged against the inequities as a girl. Why can't females run and own companies? Why can't females live on their own out of marriage like males? Mary Tyler Moore was considered a revolutionary during that time. I wanted to be Barbara Eden in I Dream of Jeannie. She had magic going on. Or Linda Carter in Wonder Woman. I was so busy with chores and caretaking of 7 siblings, going to school, working part-time, that this didn't look like domestic bliss to me. Why couldn't I have a paper route, like my brothers, or join the baseball league? Why was it that "it's a boy" was more loudly proclaimed than "it's a girl"? Better luck next time. At the birth of a child. I didn't want to be tied down or tied up in a predetermined cultural expectation. I knew this at 7 years of age. I always knew that God was a woman too. The divine feminine spoke to me in the trees, skies, flowers, oceans. There were fairies and angels and saints all around. I was also fascinated with St. Joan of Arc, my namesake, for kicking ass and standing by her divine female rights to her intuition and divinity. She who will not go gently into the night was she, my superhero, Joan of Arc. I had to keep these dangerous thoughts of equality and freedom underground though, at that time, especially when I entered my teen and young adult years. I needed to fly under the radar as a female. I was not as brave as Amelia Earhart. I didn't want my fledgling wings burned beyond repair. By then I had found my power of beauty during this time. Gloria Steinem said to celebrate your body, that it was not unclean or second class. We are males equal, revolutionary at that time. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll ruled the day, and so I reigned. My mother was horrified. She was shocked by me wearing pants to work instead of a dress, or going braless. I was a size, a size 5 at the time. I mean, seriously? Wearing mini skirts, crop tops, and platform sandals. Remember candies? I now traveled off Long Island, because I grew up in Long Island, very sheltered. And I collected a rainbow of friends, lovers, and experiences. I felt trapped in a time warp between the good girl and do as you're told, and you will be taken care of in a sheltered existence, and you've come a long way, baby. Freedom of choice, reproductive rights, career paths, financial freedom, and marital status options. Wow. I was the first female in my family to graduate college. Hey. I knew I had options and I intended to use them, and I did. I had it all. I moved out of my family house, and for 7 years, I was unmarried to my mother's horror. I lived in an apartment in Queens while working in Manhattan, taking a master's degree at night, became a special educator before I married my African-American boyfriend and gave birth to a glorious girl. I savored the full array of options. Oh, I got glorious girl, I got divorced, was a single mom, and then I got remarried. I savored the full array of options just opened up to women at this time. I bought my own car and condo, not afforded to by my mother's generation, on my own. I call the shots in my life. She's just a girl, or the Little Women, are phrases that no longer exist in my world or my daughter's. My daughter only speaks the language of equality and freedom. Life holds many doors opening to her because of the options that our sisters in the women's movement opened up for us. I went through a major transition after the age of 50. I divorced again, moved, left my full-time career, and followed my creative passion of writing. I'm Audrey DeMola. And Queen's Council of the Arts. I have several poems published. I've created the Enchanted Goddess Project, Literary Creative Arts Community, and the Enchanted Goddess Creative Arts Collective, where women gather and celebrate the expression of the divine feminine in their lives. I now live a life beyond my wildest dreams. I now live a life beyond my wildest dreams. I live in a petite condo with a big terrace that with Merlin, my feline soulmate. I have amazing friends. I do like badass things. I just got on a plane to Venice. I teach part-time. I write prose and poetry. I perform at open nights. I date at will. I have so many choices. I'm loving it. Okay, I have so many loving and loyal friends and creatives that support my journey. It's a new millennium, but we must not forget our sisters who fought for our freedoms. Hail to the women's movement and Women's History Month that celebrates these divine freedom fighters. I was born just in time. Woo! Yeah. This is the first poem that I ever wrote. I wrote about 12 years ago, and this is the first piece of writing that was published in Simon magazine. Yeah. I danced to it well. I know May did violin with it. It was a cow, which was like amazing. You see, us creatives, the unfolding. She stood tremulously at the threshold, her heart beating furiously against the ribcage of her life. The very earth has shifted beneath her. Nothing will ever be the same again. The magic of creation of her dreams has been activated. Joyously and with trepidation, she clutches her deepest desires, invoked from within the caverns of her soul. After decades of beating her wings against the gilded cages of long-gone lovers, accomplishments, shattered youth, and shards of self, she surrenders. Her very being challenged by the illumination of her true divinity. Seductively, she slips out of the armor of her emotions, no longer serving the fabric of her soul. Nothing will ever be the same, her soul whispers. She must fly against the currents of convention and expectation that held her ravaged, war-torn selves captive. As her wings unfurl, her heart opens. And she radiates all the love, passion, and dreams of a luscious lifetime still yet to be. She who must be obeyed, she who cannot be denied, the goddess divine gently rumbles through her soul. With dignity and grace, she evokes her soul's passionate and mystical stirrings that call her to task, to transform from the mundane to the sublime. Bursting forth with unabashed joy, pleasure, and the recognition of the goddess seared into her soul, she leaps out of bed, across the threshold of her dreams, wielding the magic wand of her heart cracked wide open, to reveal that she has always possessed the magic and power to give wings to her deepest heartfelt desires. She flies head on into the portal of her soul's verdant longings and creates a life that is beyond her wildest dreams. Then she draws back the veils of her enchanted life, and she finds herself staring directly into the eyes of her own sacred divinity.